Hello. In this session, we will look at the poem The Highwayman a little closely. First, the background to the 18th century. It was written in 1906, the poem. But the background of the poem is really set in 18th century, England. They were really highwaymen who existed. They were quite legendary. They became very, very popular. And they were in plenty in England. They operated till mid 19th century. Who were these highwaymen? They were robbers who either operated in groups or they were working alone. They were usually armed with pistols and they rode on horses. They wore masks. But what is more important is that they were glamorized quite a bit in popular culture. Even today, in books and movies, comics, you have the highwayman, the robber who robs the rich and helps the poor, Robin Hood kind of character. They were considered to be the messiah of the poor. This is part truth. There were highwaymen who helped the poor by robbing the rich, and part fiction too. Because history documents a few people who were very violent and very brutal. But by the end of the 18th century, due to good roads being developed, there being lights on the roads, and modern cities growing, and banks growing and developing, uh, people did not go around carrying money and jewelry. So slowly the highwaymen, numbers of the highwaymen dwindled. Let us look at the structure of the poem. The poem is divided into, as I've already told you earlier, two parts. But the first part expresses two kinds of love: the constructive and the destructive, the positive and the negative. On one side, you have Bess, who loves the highwayman in spite of the fact that he is an outlaw. So love crosses all barriers. That is the positive side of love. But on the other side, you have Tim, who is very destructive in his love. To him, love is a possession. He should possess her by destroying the block. And the block is, the barrier is the highwayman. So the second part of the poem dwells on the commitment, the dedication, the deep love and sacrifice of Bess and the highwayman. Bess warns him with a gunshot, and when the highwayman hears about Bess's death, he comes running back to seek revenge. The road smoking behind him, it's because of the gunshots. So he doesn't care about his life. He comes back to seek revenge and eventually dies. But in spite of all this, there is love after death, which emphasizes the eternal aspect of love. So the first part is more focused on the intensity of the romance and the fineness of their romance. But the second part is a little more violent, bloody, because love is expressed in a society which is not all that conducive to these lovers. So the red coats, their color, their behavior, and their eagerness to kill, their joy that they derive from torturing Bess, focuses really on the social perceptions of the highwaymen as well as this love. Though the redcoats look at him as a robber, to Bess he is so precious that she gives up her life for him. So perceptions differ, and people, characters are made out of these perceptions. It's very difficult to say, and dismiss the highwayman just as a robber if there's a girl who can give up her life for him. So, apart from this, what are the plot functions? I've told you what a plot is and given you the diagram in the last session. But what is the function? It is episodic in the sense that it weaves sequence after sequence, episode after episode, leading to a climax. So the episode of love, then the episode of the eavesdropping, then the episode of the redcoats coming and marching in, and the episode of tying Bess to the bed and pointing a gun to her breast, the episode of Bess killing herself, the highwayman running away, then coming back and being killed, and finally the lovers meeting. So all these are the events and they are bound by a certain thread. The thread is the thread of foundation and some logic that gives it a certain coherence. The foundation is the commitment and dedication. The logic is that love thrives and survives in spite of many things. And this is brought out through the characters and the roles that they perform. Though he is an outlaw, he is admired. But you see the difference in you see the characters through other characters' eyes. Now to Tim, the highwayman is a robber. But to Bess, he is a beloved. To the redcoats, he is just a dog, which needs to be killed. So the irony is in that the highwayman looks like a gentleman and the redcoats look like outlaws. So a lot of commentary is made through the roles and behavior of the characters, but it is not spelt out as such. Now there is involvement in the narrative through the use of emotions and through the use of the themes and images. This involvement builds a certain interest. The purpose is, of course, to entertain, to involve, and build interest. So these are the functions of a plot. I told you what a plot is last time. This time I'm telling you what the functions of the plot is. And totally in a comprehensive manner, these functions actually enhance the entertainment value and the participation value. Ultimately, all literature is for consumption, and that consumption should lead to either an altered worldview or some entertainment. What are the characters that we are talking about? As I said, the highwayman is dressed up and very well groomed, looks like a thorough gentleman when he meets Bess. But Still, he looks like a dog and a robber only to Tim. Bess is waiting for him, lets down her hair for him to kiss. So he is precious to somebody and he is an obstacle to somebody. But what is very notable about the highwayman is, yes, he is a robber. He promises to meet Bess. When he hears of her death, he comes back. That is the important factor. He doesn't care about what happens to him. So the dedication, the commitment is reciprocated. There is a deep commitment on the highwayman's side. So it tells you that if a man is capable of making a woman feel that he is precious, that itself is a great achievement. So there is a noble side to him. There is a bright side to him. His face burns like a brand when she puts down her hair and lets down her hair and he kisses it. But the same face burns like a brand in a different way when he hears of her death. Not caring for his life, he comes back. So that is the highwayman. Bess's character, she is the very stereotype, heroine of a movie in this story. Very beautiful, long hair, red lipped, black eyed, waiting for her lover in the first part. So she is like any other typical heroine of a movie. But in the second part, you have a different Bess who is seen. Harassed, abused, but taking it all quietly. She is tied to the bedpost. She doesn't grumble. She doesn't whimper. She is not described as crying. Nothing. She is only planning and waiting tensely as to how she can save the life of the highwayman. So there is a calm nature to this young girl. We suppose that she is young. We don't know. There is a calmness, a kind of steadiness in her. Of course, there is fear, of course, there is anxiety, but still she gets beyond all that and she overcomes all that and she kills herself to warn her lover. So it tells you how brave she is, how courageous she is, how calm and composed she is in a moment of crisis, and how she is committed to her love. Tim, of course, is the person who is the thorn in the blooming of this love. He obviously has squealed to the red coats and they have come because he could not withstand the idea of Bess being with the highwayman. So this is there's a contrast to the love between Bess and the highwayman. This is very destructive, as I've told you before. Love as a possession, the will to destroy the loved one's happiness in order to own something, in order to own the person. This is very, very destructive and negative love. If you love something, you must free it. You must see it happy. That is why Erich Fromm says, love is the child of freedom and not that of domination. You cannot possess something forcibly. You can only make yourself lovable by making the other person happy. So Tim is the negative shade of love. And the red coats underline the irony in the ballad. They are the protectors of the law. But how do they behave? King George's men, because of the power vested in them, they behave like highwaymen. They come and loot and plunder their inn, they drink what they want, they abuse Bess, they tie her, which was not necessary, and they make fun of her, they kiss her. So the protectors of the law are behaving like outlaws, and the highwayman is portrayed as a gentleman. This is the irony in the ballad. What are the themes that you find? One dominating theme is love. I've already told you, love is harmony. Love can also create a dot of disharmony through jealousy. Love can be betrayal too. Tim betrays the lovers. Love can be sacrifice too. You see that in Bess's sacrifice as well as in the highwayman's sacrifice. Then the theme of death is also one where a person commits suicide, literally kills herself to help her lover, and the other person wants to take revenge. He seeks revenge, the highwayman, and so he also dies. So death is in the air in the second part of the poem. It happens and it becomes a tragedy. I've already told you about the irony which is underlined in the behavior of the redcoats and the highwayman as a contrast. The last is the supernatural element. The last part, you see that Bess and the highwayman, if they cannot meet in the mortal world, they meet in the afterworld and fructify their love. These are the themes that you see in the poem. I hope you've enjoyed the poem. Thank you.